Hi, can you hear me?
Testy.
That's Stickles.
Testicle 1, 2.
We're just here to talk about like shits and gigs.
Yeah.
We're going to swear a lot. We'll probably be drinking a lot. Wine thing is so played up. There's only so many
buzzed
things.
besties.
Ooh, you are buzzed. Buzzed besties.
Buzzed besties. Like, who are these hood rats?
We are cool and you want to be our best friends, okay?
Welcome to the Sips and Gigs podcast. Here's your hosts, Nikki Intonman and Steph Joplin.
Yellow!
Welcome
back. I feel like an announcer when I do that. Yellow and welcome back to the Sips and Gigs podcast.
That actually was legit.
That was pretty good. We could be a voiceover person. Thing.
I've been trying to mind my P's and Q's and just be more of a saint since our last episode with Sarah Rose Summers. Just what a human.
I know. It kind of went in one ear out the other for me because I have not done shit with my life since we've talked to her. So,
people like that, though, the world.
She's changing the world and I'm just eating cream cheese.
Hey, I did see your post, though. You're over halfway.
Over halfway. Yep.
The bitches feel like it's a girl, too.
They really do. We literally went to lunch and this little lady was like, she goes, hold on, let me look at you. She goes, look up. She had me look up so she could look at my neck. And she goes, you probably going to have a girl. And I was like,
really?
At my neck? Bailey was like, what do you mean from the neck? And she was like, if it's dirty, it's a boy. I was like, so you're telling me I have a clean neck?
Thank you. So you got a clean ass neck.
I don't know if it's like shadow. Somebody else on my stories was like, maybe like there's darker. I think you have darker shadows. I don't know. But she said she could tell by my neck.
My skin was always so much better with the boys. They say like girls take the glow away from you. Like you have a little more hormonal acne. Again, This is all wives' tales. I don't actually know what is ever true.
This is just different with everybody.
It's different with everybody. The only thing I would say that stayed true just from my experience between girls and then the two boys was the heart rate. Paisley's heart rate was always way higher every time we went in. Way higher. I don't remember what it was. I think it was like one. What's high?
I don't know.
I think she was like one. Oh, I don't 160s and the boys were like 120. Like it was a lot slower.
Oh shit, that's way different. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was like
all my kids are all in like the 150s and 60s, and people are like, "Oh, it's a boy, it's a girl," and I'm like, it's the same fucking thing.
I know. You never know. It's just
everybody has like all the wives' tales are all different for everybody.
Yeah, it's true.
But
I'm
just trying to like figure out that this is like. I just am I'm getting my ass kicked. Like it's like one day I'm like, yeah, so much energy, I'm doing all the things, and then the next day it's like,
it's also hard because you're working, and when you're not working, you have the boys, and so when you have multiples, like when you have your first, I'm like, oh gosh, I can just nap when I want, I can lay around, like it just changes your energy game like crazy.
For sure, there's no rest anymore.
No, this is our lives for the next 18 years.
But we're so excited.
Babies are a blessing.
Bailey and I literally were laying in bed the other night and he goes, can you believe we're going to have 3 kids? Like he said in a positive, like upbeat. And I was like, I know, right? Like, what do we do? What are we doing?
It's amazing.
Do you realize how many times we just yelled tonight during dinner? Sit down in your chair.
That doesn't change from my experience. We're like that is one of our goals is to really just like take a deep breath with parenting, but fuck, it's hard. I always say when they're not here, when they're napping.
Stupid goals.
I just like feel so bad. I'm like, I am trying to raise good humans, and I'm like, stop screaming, stop fighting. I'm like, wait a second, I'm screaming.
I'm fighting with you.
They need direction. Exciting episode today.
Yes, we do.
It's all about you guys, really.
It was all about you. Yeah, we went to you. We asked on both of our stories and on the podcast stories your deep diving, interesting, all the things you want to know about me and Nikki. Yep. Even though some of you really didn't get the gist of it, and you're like, "What's that nail color?" And I'm like, "Bitch."
we were just going over some of them actually like kissing ourselves with them, but some of them were really good and like kind of made us think. A lot of motherhood and family ones. We've got some influencing ones, which I'm kind of excited to to dig into because we don't talk about that really on social media.
No,
Like not much about the business side itself.
no. Every once in a while, I'll do the same thing where it's like, let's throw up a question box and ask people, like, what do you want to know about my career? But
That is
yeah,
amazing.
for the most part, I feel like everybody knows, but at the same time, they don't know. You know?
Yeah. I was reading this article, or maybe I was listening to a podcast talking about like the top 10 colleges in the country. They had people write down their freshman year what they want to be when they grow up. You know what they said?
Please don't say influencer.
TikTok star.
Ew.
Yeah, was the number one. I know. I was like,
Guys, we're going in the shitter.
no, but actually, I'm like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're striving
it
for
works.
a career,
Right.
but
not everybody can do it, okay? No,
It just
I'm
is
just kidding.
insane.
It's crazy that is what is reality now. That people are like, oh, this is a real job.
Yeah,
It's so nuts.
it is. It really is. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to kind of get into it a little bit. But I feel like we should start with the motherhood because we were talking about your pregnancy.
Because I'm so pregnant. Yeah, I actually right now as we're speaking, I feel like the what's that called? Acid reflux.
Oh, yeah.
I
Do you have
feel like
heartburn?
Heartburn. That's what I was talking about. I feel like that's going to start in the next couple of weeks because it's just like sitting right here.
I never had that.
You
I
didn't on any?
No, but you know why? Well, again, wives' tale. All my kid came out bald as a shaved nutsack. None of them had
Looking
any
like
hair.
a peepee.
They did. It just popped out. They're like, oh, look at the peach fuzz. I'm like, where? That one blonde hair. They say heartburn is with kids with more hair. Did all your kids have hair?
Not like an crazy amount, but like average. Yeah, they were average. They were average baby hair. Bailey though came out literally with like a full mop of black hair, like full, like all the way down to his freaking chin, like a bob. His baby picture, we need to put it up on our stories because it is the funniest fucking baby picture ever. He looks like parts of him are like a full-grown man, but then it's like baby face. I wouldn't be surprised if he had teeth, if he smiled that he had teeth when
Wait,
he
that's
came
a
out.
thing. Remember we talked about that before.
Terrifying.
Gary's shit. Okay, because we are, just very seasoned mothers over here. What would be your advice for a first-time mom?
First-time mom. I always say this too because I was pretty good at following my own advice, was to just listen to your own mommy gut. You're going to get so much advice about what worked for other people and like, oh, that means you should do this. Same things with like the wives' tales when you're pregnant. People are like, oh, it's a girl. Oh, it's a boy. And I'm like, we'll see when it fucking comes out what it is. Okay. Stop telling me what to do, what to think. But you kind of have to have that little bit of that like back off mentality in your own head. You don't have to portray it to other people, but almost in your own head to be like, yep, I see you. I hear your advice, but I'm not fucking taking it.
Yep.
I'm just going to do what feels right for me because there's no handbook. There's nothing that says what's right and what's wrong, what works for some people, what doesn't work for others. So that's like my one true thing. And mommy gut is a real thing. Like you can feel when you're doing something and you're like, this doesn't feel right. Like something doesn't feel right. And then you can feel when you're like, you know what? Having them sleep with me in my bed feels so much better. It might be wrong for everybody else on the planet, but for you, you're like, this feels right.
That's so funny that you say that. Well, that was one of the things I had was don't be afraid to ignore advice. I mean, that's exactly what you're saying. Like take what you want, ignore what you want. But I was so stressed out that when Paisley hit 1, that I was going to take her pacifier away and we're going to have to do all this like crazy shit, right? Because I felt that pressure to do so. And I remember my mother-in-law coming over and we had such a hard time breaking her of the passy. And she was like, you don't see any college kids going to college with their pacifier. They're going to give it up. Like same with sleeping in their own bed.
Or like potty training. It's like, what 40-year-old doesn't know how to piss in the toilet? Okay. It'll happen. Relax.
Exactly.
Stop
so
listening
now
to
I'm like,
moms who were like, mine was potty trained at 1.5 before he could walk. Shut up.
That actually,
I mean, it's cool. Like I said, that shit happens. It's cool. But also,
yes.
Shut it.
Yes, I agree. And that I struggled big time with our first was with the comparison game of other kids. Like, oh, my daughter's not walking yet, or she's not, saying she hasn't said her first word, whatever the case may be. it's just like that really got to me. And it's like, they'll all do it. Like, everyone relax, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
I
feel like more now, like if you are a first time mom now, watching people on social media who are pregnant or getting ready to have kids is probably the best, because I think people are a little bit more open and right and raw and real about what's happening. So they're not showing up in a full beat glam like this is the day after pregnancy. Like, people are trying to be more real about it and being like, okay,
that's true.
Bitches don't want to see that. They don't care what I look like. They want to see the struggle. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to come to my stories after I had this baby, you're more than welcome, but it is going to be basically what it's like all the time.
I can't wait for that. And like, sometimes too, where I struggled with is sometimes it actually is just a phase. Like, I'm like Googling stuff, or I'm figuring out what, are they teething? Are they hurt? Whatever the case may be. Like, they're figuring it out. They haven't been on earth that long. Like, give yourself a break, give them a break. Everyone's gonna.
I don't know if I would call mine as like lazy parenting, but it was the same way. I was like, I don't want to Google this. It's not hurting them. They're not in any harm. They'll fucking get over it.
For sure.
Like, they're fine.
For sure.
It's making them be quiet right now, I'm going to let this ride out for as long as I possibly can.
Yep.
And then the other thing too is like first time moms, especially after you give birth, like the postpartum it's the hardest fucking thing to go through, because your body doesn't feel like itself, and it never will again. I promise you this, like, it never feels the way that it did before. It's just like getting used to that and like getting more confident in your new normal, whatever. But there's just something weird about what happens to your body, like the feeling of your body after you have kids. Right?
1000%. Oh, 100%. Like, but our body is also meant to change. Like, you are not meant to be the same body after you've had 3 kids that you were at 20. Like, that is the beautiful thing about a woman's body, is it's meant to adapt and change. But yes, as far as like the feeling of your body, everything is just, it's different. Like, and
it's just like pregnancy. Like pregnancy, your body grows over that small, like that 9 months. So it almost feels normal. Then it's gone and you have this immediate weird feeling, but you have to like kind of let that almost like grow, let that sit and get normal too, because it will. I promise it'll feel normal after a while. Yeah.
And if I could go back and tell myself something, I didn't actually recognize that I had postpartum. Like when
postpartum depression?
Yeah. So I had postpartum anxiety. Okay. Like where I was I was anxious the second Ty left. And I was like, I don't even, like, did we mess up? I loved her more than anything, but we were the first of our friends to have kids. And so I had like this FOMO mentality. They'd reach out to me like, hey, do you want to get cocktails tonight in an hour? I'm like, I'm a new mom. Like, I can't, like, I need a heads up, right? So I just had this anxiety. And then I would get mad at Ty, and he's like, I'm going to work so I can provide food and a roof over your head. Yeah. Yeah. And I loved spending so much time with her, but then I just always had this constant like anxiousness in the back of like my head. And so I just didn't recognize it. And I didn't know postpartum anxiety was a thing. Social media wasn't huge, and like stories and things weren't big when we first had her. But I will say, like, if you were feeling a certain way, talk to your spouse, talk to your doctor. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help.
100%.
And
your doctor should actually be checked. Because I remember when I went in for checkups all the time, they were asking, like, do you ever feel do you feel like hurting yourself or hurting your kid or anything like that? And I'm like, why are they asking these questions constantly all the time? Like, I luckily, I just never had any of that kind of like mental, like, I never felt that.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine having those feelings and kind of being scared to say anything. So your doctor should be asking you, answer him. Like, this is something that can turn into something bad. Yes. But yes, like, you got to talk to somebody about it for sure.
Well, and it's crazy too. Like, after you have your kid, for me, I got checked out at 6 weeks after postpartum. So like, okay, everything looks good. Best of luck. But when you're a baby, that you get checked out like 15 times in 1 year, like that, the mom should receive similar care, in my opinion, because like it's a 2-way street, when it comes to having a newborn. So just being aware of that. A tangible thing I would say, even as quote unquote content creators, is just taking more pictures. Even when I look back at some of my kids' newborn phases, I don't think I ever took enough pictures. I don't know if you feel this way, but no. I wish I had more videos. Maybe not I wanted to catch all of their first, and I don't really feel like I did a good job of that. So you can never have too many pictures of your baby.
To like catch their first of anything, but it's kind of like, this is what he's doing now. I am bad now of taking pictures again because everything I go to now is immediate video. And I'm like, where's your like cute little baby face pictures? Like, yeah, it's just, and then I think after you start stacking kids, that every other kid gets less and less pictures. Winston took up my whole camera roll for like 2 years.
So
just him. We'd do photo shoots. I'd put him in cute little outfits. He got the monthly update pictures, you know, where it's like, oh yeah, old. This is what I did. And Grant, it was like, he can walk now. Cool. He's in college.
Everyone was like, how old is Brooks? I'm like, I don't know, roughly like 6, 8, 9 months. I'm not sure. Somewhere in between there. They're like,
first kid, they're 8 months, 6 days, and 5 hours. Love them. They're walking and teething, and it's just so great.
They can recite the dictionary. So
yes,
you're welcome.
If you want to be labeled as a first-time mom, speak of your children's age in months. Okay, I know that you don't have any more kids than one. If you call them by their months,
we just got the kids like these like writing pads. You can like push the button and it clears the screen, and then you can write again. And on the box it said 36 plus months. I'm like, or we could have just said 3 years plus.
Like, well, who thinks in the? Come on. The first 12, okay? I get it. You can call them months until they're 1.
That's true.
After that, don't do it.
What other ones do you have for family? You have any family or motherhood
stuff? Speaking of, whose husband is going to get snipped first?
Oh, mine.
Is Ty, does he have an appointment?
If Ty doesn't schedule an appointment like this week, I'm going to hold out the vajayjay until he does it. Yeah. I am just like,
wait, what can you do? What can they do? They can tie my tubes. I don't know. I haven't looked into any of this, but like, since we know it's probably going to be our last kid, I need to talk to my doctor still I'm just going to spitball here with you guys. So when I go in there, I ask the doctor like, hey, can we tie my tubes as well? Is that what I say?
If you have a C-section.
Oh, okay. So that's a whole different separation.
Yeah. You
can't just like reach up in there and give them a little bow tie.
No, you can stick
Guys, I know nothing about the anatomy of the human woman and female body.
Big ass like pit of a vagina. No, I don't
but
think
by now, yes, he is. He could stick the forceps, open that bad boy up, and tied it right up.
Nope. Unless you have a C-section. If that's the case, fingers crossed it's not. Then they can do it.
Have to do it separately.
Yeah. So you don't.
Okay, so here's the other question too. Like I said, this is when you get your tube tied. Do you still have your period?
Ooh, I don't.
Or does that have to come with a what's that called?
Oh, a hysterectomy.
Yeah.
That's a great question, Stephanie. I'm not a doctor, but I don't think you do because your egg's not dropping, right? Anymore.
I know nothing about the female body. I know that if you stick a penis in there and it ejaculates, you could get pregnant. That's all I know. I don't.
I'm
Googling it right now.
Okay. I would say no. But Ty is terrified to get a vasectomy, which I don't know.
You will still have your periods.
Why? I guess I don't know either. I thought I knew, but. Well, that's a bitch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's dumb. I want the thing where like I can't get pregnant and my period's over.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a hysterectomy, I think.
No, I do want Ty, though, to get it done this year. We've hit our deductible because all of our kids have been fucking sick every 5 seconds. Paisley had surgery. So I was like, you need to get with it. And they're like 6 months out right now. So I'm like, get it scheduled. But
so that's why the women and the husbands fight about who's going in. Like, no, you're going in to get your snippety snip because I had the kids. I'm not going back in again to get my tubes tied.
100%. And it's like outpatient procedure. They give you like a Valium. And a nurse apparently shaves your balls because you got to have nice, clean, like, they bick your balls. Literally bick them.
So if that's not a plus side, guys, I don't know what is. You get bicked balls.
Ty's like, all of his buddies are like, it's always just these hot nurses that are in there just bicking you.
Just lifting up the flap.
Just bicking your balls. And then
would you like your gooch done as well? I could go all the way back to the butthole. Let me know. It's an extra $5, but I can do it.
And then I think they just like cauterize like the stream that like
it just doesn't. It does sound painful.
Yeah.
But wait, so like if we go in and get our tube size, it's a full on procedure where like you have to stay in the hospital for a couple of days. Because that sounds glorious as well, though. I mean,
I know.
We're out.
That's true. That's true.
Waited on hand and foot.
I don't think it's like a full blown, like you are hospitalized for a while, but I do think it's like, I mean, it's invasive. They gotta get in there from what I understand. So men are easier.
Good to know going in that I wasn't going to be like, now that the baby's out, can you guys go ahead and tie that up?
Are you sure, ma'am? And then they just cut you open.
Then I'm like, oh shit, I didn't realize this was going to happen.
Maybe everything's like orthoscopic now. Maybe they don't even have to cut you open. I don't know. I just remember when my mom had it done and I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I would like Ty to do it as soon as possible. Because we are definitely done having.
You guys are just playing right now. You're just like,
we are playing with fire.
Dangerous.
I know. And I'm not ready.
Especially I couldn't handle as much as you two just have like, ooh, let's go drinking tequila. Yeah, it's fine.
That's the problem. That's the problem. I'm like, oh yeah, stick it in. He's like, well, aren't you ovulating? I'm like, yeah, but I'm on birth control. It's fine.
Totally fine.
No, but it's
just
not.
Roll these dice and have 19 kids. It'll be fine.
It's not. All right. Okay, I do have a question. You can say pass if you don't want to answer it. Are you the type of pregnant girl who wants to have more sex or less? Or maybe stay the same.
With the boys, it was like the first 12 weeks. First 12 weeks are always just like everybody leave me alone. Get the F away. You feel disgusting. You're like half wanting to throw up all the time.
Yep.
Like, the look of your penis would make me want to like, looks like chicken. I don't know. Looks like raw chicken.
So gross.
Gross. But then like with both boys, there was a point at like 16-ish weeks where it was like, I don't know what's something, but I need it. Get it.
The hormones.
But with this one, it's like more. It hasn't quite been, like I said, that's why I think it's a girl, because something's been so different every single time. So like with this one, it's not as like raging Cajun, like, just come on. But it's like really hard. Like when you get older and you have kids anyway, you're not having sex as frequently as you think. And then you get pregnant and then you're like, oh, sorry, I'll see you next year.
That's true. It is. That is, and always that first time.
Him, you're like, I'm sorry. You're like, you can go in the living room and like do whatever you need to do. Take your computer with you. You're like wanting them to go.
You need me to call someone for you. Like, let me know what you need.
You can do whatever you want. I don't care. Just stay away from me for the moment being. So I'm sorry.
Pregnancy for me was, I mean, it's fine. Like, I'm like, yeah, sure. I guess we'll do it. But I never had that like, urge, like that pregnancy urge. I was like, it
would only lasted for like a couple weeks, but it was a weird urge where I was like, this is what men feel like all the time. I bet this is not fun.
That is so
like, you like Bailey's like, what are you doing? I'm like, get in here, come on. I'm like, oh, maybe that's what guys feel like all the time. Now I kind of feel bad for turning you down.
I know that testosterone raging all the time. Have you ever farted during sex? I think I have.
I probably have.
Yeah. I've definitely queefed.
Yes, for sure.
Like, especially when they
pull it's just out. Like the motion, or if they pull out and go.
I'm like, oops, sorry about
those things where you're like, don't pull it out unless you tell me, because I got to tighten everything up, because if it's loose and you pull it out, it's like. For some reason, I thought we've talked about this before, but maybe not, because me just making that noise into a microphone seems new.
I think we have, but I mean, I'm never too immature to hear about queef stories, because it's just so good.
You're both just
right.
This video. I'm wiping my tears with a sock.
Oh my gosh, this has been the best episode yet. Oh my gosh, I'm dead. Yeah. I mean, probably a fart, queefing, whatever. It's like all the noises. They don't care as long as they're getting it.
That's so true. Oh my gosh. Okay, we gotta change the subject.
Okay, change the subject. Okay. Would you want to talk about speaking of like influencing and content creation?
Oh, yeah. We did get a lot of questions about like our background.
Yeah.
How people get started, all those kind of like fun questions.
Yeah.
First of all, somebody asked, how do you even start a podcast from like the ground up? Basically, just hit record. What I tell Nikki every single day, I'm like, just press record. We'll figure it out.
Steph stresses me out every day. I'm like, let's go over the game plan, the agenda. She's like, yeah. Just push play.
Yeah. Nikki's got the handwritten notes in front of her, a timeline of when we should move on to the next subject. I have an energy drink in my phone and I'm like, let's do this.
It's so true. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit on the pod before. It's just how we got started. But to just, I guess, reiterate and talk about it again is we both organically were sharing just what we truly loved. And I think that is like the baseline to getting started.
Yeah. Especially on any sort of social media or whatever you're doing. So if you like, I have a lot to share, I want to start a podcast, just start. Like just start sharing what you like. And then you figure everything else out as you go. Same thing with if you want to be on TikTok and do dances, just start fucking doing dances and doing the fun stuff. If you want to build more of a community, I would say start on Instagram. If you just want to be seen and get more attention, that's probably more TikTok.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that for sure. And I definitely think from a millennial perspective, if you're Gen Z, I don't know how many Gen Z listeners we have, probably none.
0.
But they definitely obviously like gravitate towards TikTok. But like Steph said, you can just build a community so much easier, or not even easier, but just cultivate it so much better on Instagram.
Yeah. A community, quote unquote community, somebody that like people that you're talking back and forth to that actually give a shit about what you're doing on a daily basis. They're invested in you. You're invested in them. It's like a mutual relationship where I think TikTok is like post and ghost. Hope you guys like this funny little shit that I put on my little wiggle jiggle.
It's so true.
Whatever.
The one,
and then like YouTube would also be a fun place to start because that's more like long form. If I would say like if I had more Googleable content where people are like, you know, because like some people like Google like how-tos, like cooking videos, things like that. YouTube is another really good place to start too. So it kind of depends.
I agree. And I do think initially what you're going to be doing is trying a bunch of different stuff, like as far as what you're passionate about, whether it be fashion or lifestyle or family, and your audience will tell you what they want to see more of, not only because they'll be commenting and engaging, but the numbers don't lie when it comes to data, right? So you can actually see like your saves and your shares, all of that, all the people will tell you in stories or they'll be direct messaging you. Yeah. Like they'll tell you. And
they're like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I can tell all the time too. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything like that again because people literally were like, cool. Next thing.
1000%.
Bring up another topic and you're like, okay, you bitches like this. Let's keep diving into something like this. Yeah.
It's so true. And like in my case, and with a lot of people, I feel like don't be afraid to adapt too. Like one thing that served like me before doesn't necessarily serve me anymore as far as just like what I'm passionate about and things change and you're, you know, and you grow and you change. I got a question about that being like, you just seem so much happier this year than you were last year. What have you done for changing? I have said no to a lot more than I have said yes to. And I feel like I'm no longer trading my time for money. I've talked about on the podcast before, like always chasing the next thing or the next dollar, the next client, the next whatever the case may be. And I was sacrificing not only like my mental stability, but also just my family time. And I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. I only get, we only get one life with our children and only, so many years when they're under our roof. And I'm like, I'm really trying to lean into that more. So I will say like, taking a step back, saying no to the things that don't serve you and saying hell yes to more that you love and want to do helps a ton.
Absolutely. I think when you're starting out, you kind of almost have to take the opposite approach of that though too, where you just have to like put your head down and fucking post all the time, be in your DMs all the time. Like it takes a lot to people to stay like if somebody's on your page and they comment or do something, it takes a lot to get that person to continually stay there and hang out with you. So I feel like you do have to almost like put it into overdrive if you're starting for sure. But yes, I think once you are like at a place where you're like, I just want this to be a side income or I just want this to showcase like my hobby, then you don't have to answer any messages. If you're just like, I'm just here to show you what I love to do, just to put it out there in the world. I'm not trying to make any money off this. Like there's so many different types of like content creators out there. If you're just funny and you want to do something funny that, But I think like for me, I was like nose to the grind, like nose to the ground, just go, go. And then eventually now you get to a point where like now I can start saying no and just like really protecting and honing in on what you truly like and love doing.
But I also feel like we still are grinding, it's just in a different capacity. And I feel like when you first start, you love it so much. Like I just remember us sharing shit that we just love so much. And I was like, this is amazing. I can talk about this all day long to cultivate that for sure. I think there was one that was like,
there was a question, wasn't it? Like how you start or go ahead. Sorry. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like how you start, how did you start working with brands was one.
That one for sure is like, you don't want to go after a brand that you don't actually work or that you don't actually use. So, and I think more brands now are attuned to influencer marketing. So there's more opportunity there than there ever has been. But yeah, like look at your like count, like whether you're sharing makeup, look at all your makeup and be like, okay, I'm going to share the shit out of these companies. I'm going to tag them in every single one of my videos. I'm going to do makeup tutorials. I'm going to break down their products, all this. The more that you tag, and then you can DM them, you can find emails, you can literally, you bug the shit out of them until somebody's like, okay, lady, what do you want? And you're like, hi, I'd love to partner with you.
It's so true. Like that is like a spot on. The other one that I was laughing at was pet peeves of influencers.
Oh, like of us or of other influencers?
Probably all the above. I will say annoys the shit out of me that I do. I start out 90% of my stories as, okay.
Oh my God, that's me too. I literally was waiting for you to stop what you were talking about. So I wasn't even going to listen to what you were going to say because I was like, mine's the okay. Okay.
Drives me crazy.
It's nuts. And I'm too lazy sometimes where I forget to go back and just snip that little part out of my videos. Like if I'm doing a try on, I just forget to go in and snip that little part out. Yeah. Instagram really needs to have a little editing tool so that I can cut it right out.
So true.
But yes, okay. And it really doesn't bother me until you start skipping through. Like Bailey's like, did you watch my stories? And he's like, yeah, as he just taps through them. And
27
okay. Oh, so annoying.
Yeah, that is just like a pet peeve. And it doesn't bother me when I watch other people's stories. It bothers just me.
Right.
Like,
no, I don't even know.
To my voice. Yeah.
The people who follow us probably don't even notice, or maybe they do. But
they probably do. They're like,
my mom notices everything that I do wrong. She's like, can you stop playing with your hair? And I'm like, you weren't even paying attention to what I was saying. Talking about feeding children, feeding the homeless. And you were worried about me with fingering my hair.
Like, your hair looks, it needs to be washed.
Yes. Or she'll be like, ooh, she always comments on like outfits that I put together. And she's like, it's looking a little bit like your grandma Winnie.
Hey, Grandma Winnie's back then. Because friends these days are
Grandma Winnie was a stylish bee. So
I don't know if I have any pet peeves that bother me, I guess, necessarily about other influencers. My thing is if people annoy me, I just unfollow them. So I guess it's
or I just like hide them. I've been doing really good at hiding now. Yeah. So one thing, since I have been meeting more and more in
person,
I think it's more. I don't know if I would call it annoying, but it's kind of like disheartening when you see somebody on their social media and then they're a whole different type of person in real life, and you're like, well, that sucks. Then I go back to watching their stories and stuff, and I'm like, I can't really even watch these anymore because I thought you were way cooler than you are, and you're not. You're a bitch.
Yeah,
I can't even name a couple because it's been like there's like 5 or 6 that I could think of on the top of my head. I'm not going to say their name.
Can you say their names and their hand? Can you rhymes with
good try?
Rhymes with Schmetter with Schmardenay.
Rhymes with Nikki Intiman. She's actually a bee.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that before. Like, we know we're not for everybody, and vice versa for other people. But that is really fucking annoying when they're 2 different people. Yeah, like, I feel like that's
definitely what you see is what you get. When like, I'm not afraid to put anything up on my stories. It's like, If I'm videoing something and somebody swears in the bathroom, I'm like, hell yeah. Like, whatever.
It's so
And I know some people have to be like a little bit more cautious. They're like a little bit more in the public eye, or like they get criticized about so many more things. So I understand that part of it. But when your personality is 150 degrees the other way, 150, 180,
180.
I don't know.
Yeah. Then you're like, no.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
that's a hide
That's
for
a bummer.
me.
That's a bummer. And
Because I'm too scared to unfollow them and then have them be like, how come you don't follow me? Or I'm like,
it's going to be on like TMZ. Better with Chardonnay.
Influencer fighting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. This one too, I feel like I get asked a lot, but it's such a wide variety answer of how much do influencers actually make? The reason I say it,
the question that everyone wants to know: how much do you make at your job?
Yeah, exactly.
That's just kind of like one of those questions you don't ask people. Like, who'd you vote for?
Which we actually got. We got some of those.
We did get a couple of those.
We said at the beginning we don't talk politics, we don't talk religion, but it is hard because there are people that have a massive following that still just do it for like gifted. Like people like, hey, can I send you some shirts? And they're like, yeah, cool, sounds good. Some people, it's a part-time thing. Sometimes it's like a full-time gig. And it's just like, I don't know.
This is what I've always said. Like, nobody gets paid the same. That's what I'm telling you this. Like, that's why if like what I say to you, that's not tangible to even put out. It's like weight, like with somebody, like when somebody's like, well, how much do you weigh? And I'm like, that means nothing. Mm-hmm. My stats, like I'm 5'7". I have, this is my bust. I carry weight here and here. I'm muscular. Yep. That makes a difference versus like, I weigh 170 pounds. People are like, oh gosh. I'm like, bitch, I'm 6 inches taller than you.
Yeah,
like,
well, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's like, a great way to put it.
There's no, like me telling you that, there's no answer. That's like, that doesn't do anything besides it's mainly people who are just like nosy. And I'm like, I see what you're doing here. But I will tell you this, like, it does not matter. It does not matter. You can have 1 million followers. You can have 20,000 followers. You can have 10,000 followers. You can have a TikTok that has 1 million followers and your Instagram can be shit. And you can make not as much money as somebody who has a more tangible, sellable business on any certain platform. Platforms pay differently. Brands pay differently. They pay flat rates. They pay, affiliate links, all that kind of, commission, all that type of thing. Everybody gets paid different from every different brand. So
1000%.
It's really just kind of I would say the hardest thing, instead of asking how much people make, it's like, how do you determine how much you should charge? That's what's hard. And that's where either you have to have, like, you can talk to other people about it, like, not exactly asking them how much they charge, but like, how do you determine how much I should charge? Or like with me, like I have an actual manager where I'm like, that's your job to figure that out. Because I don't know, I would underpay myself all the time, probably.
Yeah. Well, for sure. And that, I mean, you and I have talked about it too. And where I sometimes get hung up and I was like, well, I just don't have as large of a following as, let's just say you, for example, or any super large, but it doesn't necessarily always mean follower count. Like brands now, like you said, are so smart where they're like, let me see your engagement. Like how engaged of a following do you have? Your community. Like that is much more important. It's always like purpose over popularity. Like I've said it before, just like that was a huge thing that I got hung up on before approaching brands. And once I did, they're like, oh yeah, like not even from an analytical standpoint, but you can tell the people that are there because they just want to come hang out. And that you truly share the shit that you like. It's easy to quote unquote, like share it and sell it when we actually use it and love the products and the things that we're using.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's like a wide, I did read that like Alex Earl, for example, she has like 5 million on TikTok. She can charge like up to $100,000 for a 30-second TikTok.
Oh,
I'm not there. If anyone's wondering,
that's not what I'm charging. I've never once charged $100,000 for a post, so that's what you guys know.
Could you imagine?
That's crazy.
Someday, that sounds nice. And when that day happens, I'm going to come and just tell everybody.
I'll be like, I did one post a year. I'm done.
There was one. If Is there another job or dream job that you have?
Oh yes, I got that one too. If you weren't an
doing?
influencer, what would be your dream job? I don't know. I don't even think I knew what my dream job was before this. And I mean, this obviously wasn't my dream job because it wasn't
a thing.
Yeah. Is it my dream job now? Yeah, I fucking love it. But I think probably just like working for myself would have been a dream job. Like not having to go to an office every day from 8 to 5. That's rough. Like that's tough.
Yeah.
Especially when you're not doing the work for yourself. So I think probably I would say if I was smart enough to have a dream, it would have been to work for myself. And look at that, my dreams come true.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like you said, I always knew I wanted to do something that I loved. We were both in oil and gas, and that's not something I was passionate about.
No.
By any means.
We followed the money on that one for sure.
For sure.
We're like, oh, these pay well, especially if you're a woman.
Yeah, that is so true. I don't know. I think I'm living it now. I think it changes like depending on the year. I would love to eventually own my own business of some sort, like, which is what we do anyways, but like actually have a product or a service or something that
what product would you sell? What would you do? When I was little, I always wanted a brick and mortar, like a clothing store. I wanted to like pick the clothes out that the people would buy and then like work in the actual clothing store, like a 15-year-old. That's my dream job, is to work at Claire's or something. But like, I don't know. It would be, I've always feel like if I owned my own company, I would want a brick and mortar. Like I would want to go, I'm going into the store, where like you walk around and the people you hired are like, oh, that's Stephanie. She's the owner. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know what that looks like, but I do know that, like you just said, I like being my own boss and making my own schedule. So if you never know in the influencing thing, what if it dies out? So Ty said that to me too. He's like, what if, quote unquote, everything gets shut down tomorrow? What would you do? I'm like, probably cry for a solid year.
I feel like I would try and do something on this, but like, does that mean it all dies or just like my page dies?
No,
like
it all dies.
I'm just washed out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, yeah, I don't know what I would do.
I know. That's something we got to think about.
Whole industry now, though, if you think about it, though, because you have the people who work for influencers, so you have that whole side of an industry. I just don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's going to continue to evolve, but I don't think it's going anywhere.
Well, and I also think brands realize that right now nobody's really watching commercials. Like we are the quote unquote marketing, for them.
We are the commercial. I don't know when the last time I saw an actual commercial was.
I know.
Because if you see if you're watching YouTube on your TV, them kids just skip ad. But again, that's a social media advertisement. That's not even fucking TV.
It's so true. That's all social media. That's where I buy stuff from my favorite people. That's like how
I also need all the 60-year-old moms and Karens to get over the fact that this is a real job. Okay. Stop telling younger kids to get a real job. Although I'll tell my kids to get a real job. I'll be like, no, you're not starting immediately.
We're not doing this.
We're not doing this. You can look at social media when you're 29, 30. Not right now.
I think I struggle with that. Like right now we don't have help with the kids. So I really am like taking care of the boys and working, and people are like, but like your job is like, you're kind of just like staying at home anyways, right? Which yes, I am. I'm staying at home, but this is a job. And like we have deadlines and we have shit that we have
at my house. I still have the same amount of shit to do.
And like you said, when people are working from home from their tech job, does that not considered a job because they work from home? It's real.
This real job, people.
There's a real job.
The government says so, and they take all my money when
it's
no
shit. So. Yeah, if it wasn't a real job,
the government says it's a real job. If it wasn't, then I want all my money back.
What other ones did you have? I thought you had a.
How would you or do you handle anxiety in this social media life, which we kind of talk about all the time? Me and you struggle a lot, not so much with anxiety.
No.
Mainly just like the comparison. And it, like I said, it differs on day to day. If I'm having a shitty day and I wake up and I open my phone and everybody's doing everything and posting all these cute outfits, I'm like, I am a loser. I am behind already.
Yeah.
They could have posted them 6 days ago and it's just now showing up on my feed. But I'm like, look it.
Yeah.
She's out of bed. She's taking a shower already.
It's so
There's
true.
something about when you go to people's stories and they've already started their day and they're like driving to the grocery store, like they're already put together. And I'm just like, still in my pajamas sitting on the couch. And I'm like, shit, this is really.
That one's hard. I've had to look like a lot internally and I've started to just write things down as far as just like, these are the 3 tasks that I would like that I'm going to complete today in order of most importance. And then once, the top one is done, that's a win. If I can get all of them, then that's great. Like instead of comparing myself to myself, like what my expectations were for the day, how did it go? Yes. Because it's been like that. It can eat you up when you just like go down a rabbit hole.
And you can write down stuff. I can write so much stuff down on a piece of paper that I should get done in a day. It's so unrealistic.
I know. It's so unrealistic. So I'm like 3. I'm like, just give me like 3 realistic ones. Like, okay, I need to get this done for content. I need to get the kids' laundry done because they have no underwear. My toddlers or my kids are wearing like diapers because they have no undies. And then I don't know, whatever the other one is. So I'm a list girl.
Yeah, I'm not a list girl. Well, I mean, I have a calendar, so I know when I look at my calendar in the morning, I know what I have to, quote unquote, has to get done.
Yeah, exactly.
Me and Nikki were just talking before we pressed record too. She was like, oh, I got a couple try-on. Nikki does good where she like does her makeup one day, knocks out her couple try-ons and then doesn't have to put makeup on for the rest of the week I do, like I have always said, I will probably always put makeup on every single day because but then there's some days like today where I'm like, I would have laid in my pajamas all day. But then, oh, no, you got to try on that you got to do. So,
yeah.
Can I do it without makeup? Yes. Will it sell? No, because people are like, you are ugly.
You're like, look at my outfit. And I
look at my outfit. And they're like, we can't stop looking at your face, lady. You look crazy.
Put on some makeup.
Okay, some fun ones. Let's just do something that has nothing to do with, if you were forced to move tomorrow to another country, what's your top pick?
Another country? Well, the only country that I've ever traveled to is Mexico. Well, Canada, I guess.
You're going to Mexico?
Nope, I'm not going to Mexico. I would. So I'm saying this has to be hypothetical because I've never been to the country.
Yeah.
I would.
Oh, I'm going. Yeah, I've never.
I don't know. I would maybe say Italy just because it like looks fucking
Where's
amazing.
Paris? I watched Emily in Paris. So I feel like that was a good one.
Oh my gosh,
right?
Emily in Paris is so good. You want to go to France?
France.
I mean, I
feel like they drink a lot of wine and they like smoke cigs on the day. Like they're just like drinking wine and smoking cigarettes on that show all the time. And I'm like, that's true. Looked like a pretty great life. They're all really skinny. I mean,
what if you had to move to another state tomorrow?
Like other than Texas?
Yeah. Would you go to Montana?
Can I go back to Montana? I think I would only live in these 2 states.
Montana or Texas?
Yeah. No offense to any other states, but I've only lived in these 2 and they're the best.
They're pretty good. Yeah. I mean, if we had to move tomorrow, I would choose Texas in a fucking heartbeat. And then maybe Montana. I love Montana. I just don't know what I'd do. I feel like I'd be so bored.
Well, we would be doing the same thing we're doing right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Homes.
But like for fun.
We leave our house every day for fun. Oh, and the mountains and the rivers and the streams. That doesn't intrigue you?
Nope, sure doesn't. Hunting, hiking, not my thing. I guess it's not what I do here either. But I can like go to Target here and go shopping and go to sporting events and concerts.
Very limited. Plus, they just got another snow. I think it cleared out, but I was talking to my mom and I'm like, do you guys want me to buy you a plane ticket and you can just come here? Because her voice was like, it just sounds so depressed sometimes. And I'm like, God, those long winters are kicking their ass.
I want to help this girl out. I feel like she's just needing us to tell her. Could you stay with your partner after infidelity? What about multiple?
No.
The answer is fuck no for me.
My answer, I mean, I just know me. I know that I would never be able to let it go. I would never be able to mentally be okay. I would always be thinking about it, no matter if he picked up his phone, no matter like, I would always, every time his life would be miserable. He wouldn't want to stay with me either.
No.
So my answer is no. If you can completely forget it and like be done, I feel like there's some people who can do it, but
it's true.
They?
Yeah, but can they? I don't know. I mean, I've had this conversation before. Like, my dad cheated on my mom, which I think I've talked about on here too. And I'm like, how did you stay with him? And she's like, I did it for the kids. Like, I did it for you guys to not. I wanted to have a father figure in your life. And in Montana, it's like he had to move across the state, so it wouldn't be where we could see him all the time. And so they ended up getting divorced when I was 10 anyways. But and she said the same thing. She's like, I just could not get past it.
Yeah.
So I agree. I would cut off Ty's dick personally if he cheated on me. Actually be on fucking Dateline a week after.
I actually might too. I might be in prison. So there would be no way that I could actually be married because I'd be locked up.
And I'm always like, my mom always like, no beating, no cheating. Everything else you try to work through. Like,
no, okay. Oh my God, why is she so Mom? Wise? That needs to go on a sweatshirt. That's a Mother's Day mug.
Like, okay, that's what I'm getting her for Mother's Day.
No,
she'll be like,
everything else. That's great.
Isn't that good?
Or like a platter to give to a newlywed. This is for your Thanksgiving turkey.
Newlywed advice.
No cheating. Everything else you can work through. Such a great one.
It's so true. No, I think I think we end on that.
No beating, no cheating.
No beating, no cheating, ladies and gents.
The
new slogan of Sips and Gigs. No beating, no cheating.
Oh, this was fun. We're going to do this again, and we'll pull up some other questions for the future. A little Q&A time.
A little Q&A time. Although, yeah, some of these guys, like next time, we'll...
What?
Just some of these, like, it's funny. I mean, this one was just like, ever dealt with a stinky vag?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw.
I feel like she's asking for help too, so we might need to help her out.
Yeah. Yes. Go see your doctor.
Don't clean with soaps.
Hey, remember we had the Cassie,
and she said water
vag expert. Yeah.
All you need is a little water.
Yeah, it's a self-cleaning oven. Don't put anything in there.
Yeah. You don't need
any.
I would say if you're having some issues, take out all the stuff that has scents in them, because it's I feel like your oven works overtime to clean itself then, and then it's probably getting worse.
All of this is accurate. Just
also change your underwear.
When's the last time you changed your granny panties in Steph's case? Change to a thumb. That just your vagina.
Or Bailey. Bailey is literally like a guy who could work out and not smell at all. Like his sweat doesn't smell.
That's tight.
And I'm like, it's like I get done working out and walk by him. And he's like, man. And I'm like, I know it is bad. So
I just do a try on.
I think some people are just stinkier than others, which I am one of the stinky people in America.
Yeah. Postpartum, man, my postpartum stank was next level.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had as my hormones were just raging. I just was a stinky person.
Remember the postpartum sweats, like the night sweats?
Oh, yeah. Those were so bad.
I didn't know what they were at first when I was waking up and my hair was wet. And I was like, what is going on? I would look over at Bailey. Did you dump some water on me? That shit
was so bad. Well, we can't wait to hear about your postpartum sweats in a couple months.
And my stinky postpartum
vag, baby.
A stinky bag. You're the worst.
You guys, thank you for listening this week. You can follow me at Nikki.Entenman.
And you can follow me at Better with Chardonnay.
Oh, and you can follow both of us at Sips and Gigs Podcast. That's it, folks.
Later.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts so other people can find the show. Come follow Nikki and Steph at Sips and Gigs Podcast on Instagram, where they share tons of behind the scenes to keep you laughing all week long. See you next week.